Watson here, back with another review. This time I have 100% completed Final Fantasy VI, so let's talk about it. So, Final Fantasy VI I've played multiple times before. I played it as Final Fantasy III on like a SNES emulator. I played Final Fantasy VI on the PS1. I played Final Fantasy VI on PC. When the remasters originally came out, I was gifted the code by Square Enix, so the Let's Play that's on the channel already for Final Fantasy VI Remastered is that gifted code that I got a couple of years ago now. And now I've also completed it on Xbox as well. Obviously, you've seen probably on the channel so far that I've done the remasters for 1 to 5. Here's 6. So, 6 is probably, for a lot of people, the point where Final Fantasy games went from being sort of good, great, to being masterpieces. 6 to 10 are all arguably some of Square Enix's best work. They're just all amazing games. Final Fantasy VI, obviously being the start of that. The story for the game is just fantastic from start to finish. It starts by following Terra, and then you get sort of her journey into figuring out that she's the daughter of an Esper and a human. The Espers are like the magical creatures in the game that you use as summons. Pardon me. You use them as summons later on in the game, and they teach you like the magic and stuff like that as part of like the gameplay loop. But yeah, that's the first half of the game, and then you slowly get to learn about the antagonist, Kefka, who by the end of like the first half of the game has killed off the Emperor for like the Empire, the main antagonists for the game, and he basically gets the power of the Warring Trio, and the world goes to ruin. And then you've got the second half of the game, which starts off as you playing as Celes, and you have to go around and basically get the gang back together to go and defeat Kefka. It's set like, I think it's like a year after the events of like the first half of the game, if I'm remembering correctly. So the story, like, there's lots of twists and turns, there's cool moments, like the opera scene is one that a lot of people will point to as being like a fantastic moment in the game. And then like rebuilding the squad to go and fight Kefka, and just all the stuff with like the twins from Figaro, Edgar and Sabin, and Locke's journey, and his like the little bits that go on in between where he saves Celes, which brings me on to the characters. All of the characters kind of get their moment, but it's arguable that there are too many characters in the game. They kind of get the moment, but a lot of them end up then being like background characters. There's no strong contender for being like the main protagonist for the game. It's arguable that it's Terra and then Celes, I guess, but even then there's like big portions of the games where Terra's not in it, or Celes is like not particularly doing much to be a main character. She's just kind of there, and if she wasn't, then somebody else would take her place anyway. But each of the characters has their own backstory to them, mostly. It's like Setzer is the whole thing where there's the race with the airships and one of them crashes and dies, That's how you end up getting an airship back in like the second half of the game, Daryl's tomb. And then Locke has this whole the love of his life ends up dying due to something that happens with him. She drops from a height, gets amnesia, completely forgets about him. He gets thrown out. She ends up dying because of an attack by the Empire or something like that. And then like she remembers him sort of on a deathbed, and he's trying to find a way to revive her because he's heard of the Phoenix. And yeah, so most of the characters have like this backstory. Some of them don't, like Amaro, the Yeti that you can get as an optional character. He's just kind of like roaming around the cliffs of Nash. And Go-Go is just like in a sandworm for some reason. And then like Strago and Realm are just kind of there rather than being sort of integral to the story. Music wise, it's some of the best music in the series. Like the main theme, I think it's Terra's theme, like for the world map in the first half of the game, is just such an amazing tune. And then obviously you've got stuff like the opera music, which is fully voiced in the remasters. I don't remember it being voiced in like the original version, but it's voiced in the remasters. I might be wrong with that. You can tell me whether I'm wrong or not in the comments. And then like obviously each of the characters get their own theme and stuff. It's like a lot of the music's really good. The battle music's pretty cool as well. So and then like the general gameplay loop, it's just you got your standard turn-based stuff, but each of the characters have their own job, as you will, rather than it being like Final Fantasy V, where you can have multiple jobs and whatnot. Each character has their own set role. So like Locke's a thief, so as Steel, Terry will eventually get the ability to turn into an Esper. Sabin's got Blitz, where you can input a command and he'll do like an attack. Edgar's got the tools, so like a tool system, so you can use like crossbow to attack everybody, or drill will like ignore defenses. And then like Strago's got lore, which is blue magic, and Realm can sketch the enemy so they can use like an enemy's skill. Setzer's got slots. We'll talk about that soon. So yeah, every character has their own specific thing that they can do. So you swap them out as whenever you want, depending on what kind of skills you want in the party at the time. It also added in, like, as I said, with the Magicite, every Magicite that you can get, you can learn magic from it, depending on what the Magicite is. Each Magicite has, like, its own list of, it's usually, like, 3 to 4 magics you can use. Some of the later ones only have 1 or 2. And then, like, you get AP when you battle stuff, and that AP then goes towards learning the various different magics. And they also have, some of them have, when you level up, you gain an increase for particular stats. So one Magicite might have like HP plus 30%, another one might have stamina plus 1 or strength plus 2, so that when you level up you gain stat bonuses as well. So you can customize the characters to what you want them to have, or if you know that there's a particular thing later on, like with the I can't remember the name of the tower. There's a magic tower later on in the game where you can only use magic, so you can buff a character's magic stat repeatedly with like one of the Magicites that increase magic, so that you can have them as like powerful mages for when you're doing the tower. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I really enjoy Final Fantasy VI. It's definitely in my top 5. I think it's probably would be number 3 for me personally. I know a lot of people will say it's their favourite. I have other favourites, but with Final Fantasy VI completed, and there's another 2 reviews coming up in the next couple of weeks for more Final Fantasy games. As of this moment of me recording, I have 2 Final Fantasy games left to complete on the Xbox. That's all of the achievements, not just finish the story. Those are Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy 15. Now, Final Fantasy 15 I can't actually complete. There's multiplayer achievements, so it's not 100% completable, but I'll do it to a point. I'm obviously not including the MMOs here because 11's not playable anymore on Xbox, and 14 would just take too long. So Final Fantasy VI is in this position where I've now completed it. It was one of the last ones that I needed to do to get all of the completions. And as I said, for me, this is one of my favourite RPGs of all time. Favourite Final Fantasy games of all time. It's definitely in my top 5. Probably number 3. So, should you play it? Absolutely. It's probably one of the easier Final Fantasy games to get into. As I said, the story's really good. The music's really good. The gameplay loop's satisfying. So it's enjoyable for anyone trying to get into the franchise as well. Let's talk about the achievements. So the achievements for Final Fantasy VI, very similar to the rest of the Pixel Remasters. There's a lot of them that overlap again, as you're about to see. So we start off with a story-related achievement: encounter the Frozen Esper and awaken elsewhere. That's story-related. You're going to get that anyway. Obtain 10,000 gil. Speaks for itself. You just need to get money. Defeat 100 monsters. Again, speaks for itself. Collect treasure from 10% of the chests. Again, speaks for itself. You just need to get a bunch of treasure chests opened. Met with Bannon and decided to oppose the Empire. Again, story related. 10% of the bestiary entries. Again, pretty self-explanatory. 100,000 gil. Protected the Frozen Esper and ousted the Imperial troops. That is story related. Encountered Ramuh and obtained his magicite. Story related. Performed in the opera and obtained the airship. Story related. 500,000 gil. Story related. That's not story related. I don't know why I said story related. Getting carried away with myself. 500,000 gil. Pretty self-explanatory. Won an item at auction. So there is an auction house in Jidor. If I'm remembering correctly. Pretty certain it's Jidor. You can go and bid on items. If you bid on the items, you will win. Apart from weird items, there's a talking chocobo and stuff like that. That's there as a gag. But items you can win are usually accessories, and there's 2 magicites that you can get from the auction as well. So you kind of have to do it anyway to get all of the magicite. So yeah. Obtain 15 pieces of magicite. So there's quite a few magicites you can get for summons. Some of them are story related. There's a bunch that are story related. Others you have to go out your way to get through side quests. There's one that you get Odin that gets transformed into Raiden. You can do that and it will still give you the achievement later on for all of the pieces of magicite. Defeat 1,000 monsters, self-explanatory. Attended Emperor Gestal's Banquet, and Brokered Peace. That is story related. 50% of the treasure chests. Use the leap command to learn 50 enemy techniques. So as you defeat enemies in the game, they will then appear in an area called the Veldt. The Veldt is an area where you find the character Gao. Gao doesn't have a attack option. He has a rage option and then leap. Rage is basically it's everybody's, so all of the monsters' skills, and he will use them automatically. Quite a lot of them just have like attack or like a defensive option or something like that, and then as you get later on in the game when the monsters get more difficult, you use like different skills and stuff. You have to get 50 of the enemy techniques. There's something like 200 enemies or something like that you can get to appear in the Veldt that aren't bosses. Bosses won't appear, but everything else will. So there's like 200 enemies. So if you just spend time in the Veldt, then you will get it eventually. What happens is you'll get into a fight. You need to use Gao's leap. Gao will leap at the enemy as the fight will end, and then at some point after you defeat enemies again in the Veldt, Gao will appear after the fight. You give him dry meat. He will rejoin the party, and he will have learned the commands for any of the enemies that he's leaped into, and then the enemies that you defeated to get him back. So you can potentially get quite a few skills all at once, especially early on when you've not got any enemies at that point, when you've not learned any skills. Witness a war in Triad, revive and destroyed the world. That is story related. So this is the second half of the game. So reuniting with one ally is an achievement. Obviously reuniting with all the allies is going to be achievements, but it's kind of like you kind of have to do it to finish the story. You need a certain amount of allies. At least there needs to be at least 3 of you, I believe. It might not let you do it unless you've got like the entire squad back, minus the optional characters. 50% of the bestiary, self-explanatory. Reach level 50 for all party members. Now, this one's unique in that it doesn't actually do it for all of the party members. When you get into the second half of the game, it does it for however many party members you have at the time. So if you reach level 50 with just Seelies after it splits for like the second half of the game, it will give you that achievement for reaching level 50 for all party members. I got it when I'd got 4 allies back. I'd basically done like the Setzer side quest to get the airship back. So at that point I got Seelies, Edgar, Sabin and Setzer back. And then it gave me the achievement for reaching level 50 for all party members. The idea is that once you reach level 50, any other party members that come in will automatically be at level 50. So technically you have done it, even if you've not got the characters. Although Gao doesn't actually level up to level 50, which is weird. He stays at whatever level he was at. Reunited with 5 allies, and then reunited with 10 allies. At that point you can finish the game basically. Defeat 2,000 monsters. Self-explanatory. You just need to defeat 2,000 monsters. Acquired all the Bushido commands. For this one, there is a side quest that you can do with Cyan. If you go back to Doma Castle and sleep, Cyan won't wake up, and then there's like a whole dream sequence that you can do where you fight various different bad dreams that Cyan has, Once you finish that side quest, he will remove all the doubt in his heart, and he will have learned all of the Bushido commands. Acquired other Blitz commands. A lot of the Blitz commands, well, all of the Blitz commands you can learn by leveling up. You can even learn the last command by leveling up. By the time you get to level 70, you will have learned all of the Blitz commands. You can bypass that last level requirement by going and speaking to Duncan, Sabin's master, at Duncan's house. He will teach you the last ability if you don't want to get up to level 70, but you can get up to level 70 and learn it anyway. Obtain all the hidden items. Again, this is something that is in all the games. There are various hidden items that you can find around the map that are in like pots and stuff like that. You just need to find all of them. Obtained all of the tools. Most of the tools can be found by purchasing them from a shop. You can also get them from various different chests and stuff throughout the game. I ended up with probably 2 or 3 of each of the tools by the end of it, apart from the air anchor. The air anchor was the last tool that I got, which was in the tower. Won 10 battles in the Colosseum. So the Colosseum, it's just a battle arena. You bet an item. If it's an item that the arena likes, then you will get a different item in return. This is the best place to get all the best armor and equipment, basically. There is also a couple of monsters that you can only fight in the Colosseum, so it's best to look that up. Got Joker's Death with the slot command. This is what takes people a lot of time to complete this game. So Setzer's slot command gives you various different things on the slots. It'll do like damage to enemies or might heal you and stuff like that. One of the commands that comes up is Joker's Death. Joker's Death has a 1 in 32 chance of killing all of the enemies off. Every other time, it will kill off your party. So I got Joker's Death loads of times, but it took a good probably 6 to 8 hours before it gave me the right Joker's Death. So you not only need to get Joker's Death to show up in the slots, you then need to get the correct version of Joker's Death. Now there's a way to speed this up. You can do it auto, so you don't need to try and get it yourself manually. You can just auto it, and it will use slots. You can also, once you get Go-Go, put the slot command in his menu, and he will also use slots. So you can have Setzer and Go-Go using slots, and then you just need to continually do it. Now, on the top right island in the world of Ruin, there is an enemy there called Tumbleweed. One of the things I did was I set a character with high magic ability to heal the Tumbleweeds every round, and then used slots with Setzer and Go-Go, and kept doing it that way. And you can kind of get it so that they will use slots again and again and again until Joker's Death comes up. And then at that point, you'll either give you the achievement or you'll die and you have to reload. It's a pain. It's RNG. It takes forever. But that's the best I can do to help you to get that achievement. That's what I did. Travel to all the map locations. There are some areas in the map that are missable, so you need to make sure that you go to every area. There's like Chocobo Stables that you need to go to and stuff like that. Learn 20 enemy techniques. There are, I think, 24-ish enemy techniques. There's over 20 enemy techniques. You don't need to learn all of them. You only need to learn 20 of them. Some of the best places to do it is in the Veldt, if you can find the enemies that teach you that particular technique. There's also a monster later in the game. It's like Dark Soul or something like that. That has quite a few enemy techniques. Realm Sketch can sometimes allow you to get techniques off stuff, and also Gao's rage abilities can sometimes get you enemy techniques as well. So there's a couple of different methods to get them. Confuse also works. You can confuse stuff. Sometimes the enemies won't use particular attacks unless they are the only enemy left. So there is a few various different ways. I highly suggest looking up a guide for that one. Obtain all the Magicite. If you've done all of the other side quests in the game and are missing one Magicite, the last Magicite you get by defeating all of the dragons, and there's 2 dragons in the last area of the game in Kefka's Tower. So you won't actually get the last Magicite until Kefka's Tower, which is right at the end of the game anyway. So 100% treasure chests, obviously. Defeating Kefka and restored peace to the world is story related. That's the final boss. And 100% of the bestiary. Again, self-explanatory. It's, as I said, a lot of the achievements for the Pixel Remasters are reused. The bestiary achievements, the money achievements, level up requirements, visit all the areas, defeating so many enemies. They all pretty much reuse them, and then there's like a few that are specific to that particular game. Like in this one, it was the techniques, and acquiring Magicite and stuff like that. But yeah, that was Final Fantasy VI. It's a Final Fantasy game. It's my favourite franchise. I'm obviously going to tell you that you should go and play it. It's fantastic. As far as the Pixel Remaster goes, I know a lot of people hate the Pixel Remasters for whatever reason. I find that there's not really any difference between them, between the Pixel Remasters and the original versions, to be honest. They all pretty much play the same. They've got the same stories and whatnot. So, yeah. And that's it. If you did get to the end of the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next review.